So on Inauguration Day, Trump got right to business in signing a multitude of executive orders, and that number amounted to 20 in one day alone, more than any U.S. president. And one of those executive orders was to recognize only two genders, male and female, titled Defending Women from Gender Ideology Extremism and Restoring Biological Truth to the Federal Government. Some of the stipulations of the order are that they're two sexes, male and female, and they're not changeable. And under this, the federal employees acting in an official capacity on behalf of their agency shall use the term sex, not gender, in all applicable federal policies and documents, including passports, visas, and global entry cards, which must accurately reflect the holder's sex. Because sex shall refer to an individual's immutable biological classification as either male or female, regardless of one's gender identity. And one more important part of this is that Homeland Security shall ensure that males are not detained in women's prison or housed in women's detention centers, and under it, federal funds shall not be used to promote gender ideology. And no federal funds should be expended for any medical procedures, treatment, or drug for the purpose of conforming an inmate's appearance to that of the opposite sex. All of this seems like common sense to me. I mean, with this gender ideology crap, there seems to be this new gender every day. And this executive order would make it easier to process federal documents. It used to be very easy. And why should federal funds be expended to contribute to one's mental illness? Like, I feel for those who are going through it, but instead of electing to do irreversible procedures, why don't you work to develop skills to cope with your underlying anxiety or depression or whatever mental health condition you're going through? Because those who are going through a gender crisis like that are clearly in a lot of pain. And then for the prisons, there have been a number of times where we've seen people identifying as women right before their sentencing, then they go into the women's prison and grape the inmates. All of this to say this executive order seems to be a good thing. But no, the alphabet community likes to make mountains out of molehills.
Oh, I'm terrified. That's scary. I want to move to Canada. I am trans, yes. So I'm gender fluid. So that means that sometimes I feel like presenting female and sometimes I feel like presenting male or non-binary.
So how do you kind of feel about Trump saying there were two genders yesterday?
Well, that's just like false. Gender and sex are different things. So gender, there's a huge spectrum. There's a lot of gray area. So he's just not very knowledgeable about the stuff he's talking about. As like someone who's part of the LGBTQ plus community, having Trump as a president again makes me feel insecure. It makes me feel threatened. And
Okay, this is exactly why we need to stop recognizing the 8,000 genders on job applications, on federal documents, in schools. Because of people like this, gender fluid, they are basing their gender on a given day due to how they feel, not what biological reality is.
Please excuse my hair. I just woke up. Donald Trump was inaugurated at 12, and just a few minutes ago, he has now claimed that there will only be the male and female gender that will be recognized in America. This sets back everything that the trans community has been working for, and we have already not been recognized in this country for centuries. If we remember, gay marriage became legal 10 years ago. Just because I want to identify as a man does not mean I am trying to hurt you. In these next 4 years, you are going to hear the most intense anti-trans propaganda you have ever heard in your entire life. And they're going to strew it in a way that sounds extremely convincing, because it will fearmonger. It will fearmonger everyone's insecurities. Please talk to your neighbors, protect your trans community, stay involved, and do not forget us, because history will try to erase us.
I mean, she's right in that trans people deserve protection from harm. They have a right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness under the Constitution. No government is going to take their house away. No one's going to say that you can't dress the way that you are. None of that. It's just sheer, unadulterated fear-mongering. We know you aren't trying to hurt us, and most people with common sense don't want any harm to happen to you. People are acting as if under Trump's administration they don't have the right to exist, which is simply untrue. For the most part, nothing's really going to change, with the exception to limitations on women's protected spaces and federal documents. And then you're going to cry, oh, but job applications, like odds are if you're that worried about it, you really didn't care to get that job in the first place. Focus on doing the work that comes with that job, not your ideology. Those up in arms over it want to identify as male one day, then female on the other day. But they can't even define what a male or a female is. And that's evidenced by Harry Sisson, the paid shill by the DNC, who kept defending Joe Biden as fit to still be in office when it was clear that he was losing his marbles. And he was once again on Piers Morgan and couldn't answer a simple question.
Okay. Do you think there should be more than two genders in America? Yeah, I don't know what that executive order means. I don't know what the president declared.
It means there are two genders, male and female.
How many genders are there, Harry?
Yeah,
Come on, little guy. How many genders are there?
Again, these guys don't know what they're talking about.
Harry, how many genders are there?
How many genders are there, Harry?
How many genders are there?
What, at least two. At least two. That satisfies.
Well, how many more other than male, female?
Now I want you guys to pay attention to Harry's answers. You just heard Harry call them small brains.
That's a TikTok answer.
There's at least two.
Yeah.
Well, no, hang on. There's male and female.
It's like human brain
Donald
rot.
Trump says it's male and female. There are two.
Okay, Dave,
how
Russian
many
Rubin,
more
come
are
on
there
now.
after male and female, Harry?
Okay, some may take this as a double standard here, but I really don't think so. Dave Rubin said this kid is like brain rot because talking to him is so numbing. They asked him a simple question and he goes into semantics about what's the legal enforcement when it's very clear how they're going to enforce it. By mandating it at the federal level that documents only recognize two genders and not the gender fluid stuff. Or in what should be safe spaces for women. If he just read the document, he'd know that. And honestly, I think he does know. He's just trying to deflect because he's so stuck in his ideology that he cannot get himself to accept biological realities. But side note, I do love the play on the whole brain rot, referring to the fact that Harry's major sources of revenue is TikTok, and that's been known to purposely feed you brain rot. But anyways, I really don't think that's ad hominem attacking because it's based on the conversation. But then Harry Sisson resorts to ad hominem attacks, calling Dave Russian Rubin, referring to the indictment that conservatives like Tim Pool, Dave Rubin, and Benny Johnson were secretly funded by Russian state media employees, as they were all at one point part of Tenet Media, a conservative supergroup allegedly funded by Russia. As two Russian nationals working for Russia Today were indicted over an alleged scheme to covertly finance and direct Tenet Media through $10 million in payments to push Russian propaganda. However, Rubin said he knew absolutely nothing about any of this fraudulent activity. And he's not named in the indictment. So Harry talking about Dave being funded by Russians is number one, not an indictment on Dave because he wasn't purposely committing any wrongdoings. And also, it has nothing to do with this woke gender ideology crap that most people are sick of at this point.
There's at least two. Now, anyway, let me get back to
How many more are there?
What are the other ones?
There's at least two.
Harry,
So
let's
with
try it this way.
executive order,
You're a
what's the legal
female. What is the other gender?
It's so funny. It's so funny how these conservatives just get time to lie on this show, but when I'm speaking, they all
We
interrupt
asked a
and there's no
damn
problem.
question.
You've just been asked a very
And
simple
I'm trying to
question,
have a
Harry.
conversation with
How many
Piers, not you,
genders there
Mr.
are?
Comeover. Relax for me.
Harry,
Take a
you
breather.
simply
Thank
got
you so
asked.
much.
Yep, another ad hominem attack calling him Mr. Comeover. How about you answer the question and name the specific other genders that you think should be recognized by the government? But no, you can't do that because you don't have an argument.
If there are at least two genders, how many more
Wait,
are
Piers,
there than male and female?
Piers, you asked me about Donald Trump's executive order. I'm trying to explain how legally it makes absolutely no sense and it's going to get sued in court. Then we go into culture wars with Dave Rubin and this Ferguson guy asking how many genders are there.
No,
I'm trying
I'm
to answer your
asking you.
question. They're screaming their
He
faces
asked
off.
you.
Your
I'm
issues
asking
don't
you.
matter.
I'm asking
nobody-
you.
Oh, God, this
And
child.
Piers, I've
I'm
given you-
asking you, Harry,
Piers,
how many
and
genders
I'm
are
answering
there?
your question.
Harry,
Piers, I've answered your question.
Harry, how
There
many
are at
genders are
least
there?
Two. There are at least two.
Two
Is
or
that-
at least
are there
two?
100?
Hang
Are
on,
there
Ben.
100?
Hang on, Ben. I've got
More
this.
or less than
Can
100?
I answer the question?
Yes,
for
Cornell,
Brother Harry?
answer the question.
Can I answer the question
Yes.
for Brother Harry? According to Shakespeare, all of us are androgynous. There are men and there are women. There are different sides of human beings, all made in the image
Okay,
of
well,
a God
this
that
doesn't
has a
represent what I
dignity
think,
and
right?
a sanctity. And if you're going
This
to
is
try
not-
to start demonizing precious trans folk, I'm going to be
All right,
fighting.
one.
This dude was so quick to chime in and answer, but he quickly shifts the topic to, oh, well, we all have some feminine and masculine side within us. That's true, but doesn't change the fact that you're born male or female.
I agree. Don't
This
demonize
is all
trans
the
folks,
left
but there
has
is an
left. It's
executive
really
order I take
extraordinary.
I've got to say, the torturous
No, that's not all the
answers-
left has left. We got a whole
I
lot
think when
more
you're
waiting for
reduced
you,
to
Brother
quoting
Rubin. You just
Shakespeare,
watch.
Cornell,
You're gonna
when
see
you're
it on
reduced to
Class
quoting
on
Shakespeare
Empire,
about gender.
but it's across
Look
the
at this
board.
cult member out there with so
tired
many
of
MAGA
you all
hats. Take them off
demonizing
your
the
head,
weak.
buddy. It's weird.
I'm
Take
just
them off
showing
your
why
head.
we won, bro. 'cause
Nobody's
you can't answer
demonizing
a
the weak.
question, how
I'm
many
for
genders there
girls
are.
playing girls in
Winning
girls
at the
sports.
moment doesn't mean that you're right, brother. Just because you won
Hey,
at the
Dave, how
moment
many
doesn't mean
trans
that you're
athletes
right.
are in college
You know
sports?
that.
Cornell,
Hey, Dave
please.
Rubin,
I wanna ask
how many
Cornell a
trans
question.
athletes are in
Piers.
college sports?
I
Does anybody know?
wanna-
Anybody
I
know?
wanna-
If
Cornell,
there's
question.
one biological male beating a girl in a sport,
Yeah,
it's
look
one
at
too
this.
many.
This guy has absolutely no idea what he's talking about. Now, can we get back to the executive orders I disagree with by any chance?
Yeah, sure. But what about that one, about the two
Okay,
genders?
yeah.
I can't
Yeah,
work
no,
out.
I
Two
think-
genders. Let's go back to that. It's
Well, hang on, I
exactly
can't
right.
work
happy
out
to
whether you
answer
agree or
it.
disagree. Donald Trump says specifically, Harry, there are two genders, male and female, that's it. You think there are at least two, which normally
Correct.
means there are more than two. So what are the others?
Interpret as you will, but I think
Well, no,
that
you tell
executive
me.
orders.
Others.
I've given you my answer.
What are
It's
the
two.
others?
Baby.
You can interpret
Give
that
us
as you
another
will.
answer.
What are the other
You guys can run
genders?
wild with interpretations here. I'm
Harry,
telling you my answer is at
Harry,
least two. Now,
Harry.
on the legitimacy of the
trying
executive
to
order,
be-
it makes
I'm
no
trying to be
sense.
humane.
What's legal mechanism for enforcement?
Harry,
That's what I'm
This is
asking.
why I hate TikTok babies.
Harry, when you say there are at least two
Be
genders,
quiet. Ted Cruz's buddy over here with the
Harry,
comb over needs to be quiet.
is
I think.
Piers
Just
talking
relax.
to you?
That's
Harry,
what I'm
This is
asking.
why I hate TikTok
Harry,
babies.
Harry, when you say there are at least two
Be
genders,
quiet. Ted Cruz's buddy over here with the comb
Harry,
over needs to be quiet.
is
I think.
Piers
Just
talking
relax.
to you?
And Harry pretty much continued the conversation this way, eventually getting called out by Piers Morgan.
This is exactly why the
This is
Democrats
it.
on
Yes.
these issues got
Yes.
themselves
You guys
into
are
so
such
much
losers.
difficulty
You guys are such
because they
losers.
literally
We
cannot
literally
explain
just
what
won
they're
an
talking
election.
about.
Trump is a
If there's any doubt now, call us
Piers-
losers.
Dave Rubin, this to me is exactly why the Democrats lost the plot.
Harry perfectly exemplifies everything wrong with the modern left and the Democrat Party. He can't tell you how many genders there are, and then all he can do is hurl insults. That's exactly what the Democrats and the
Weren't you
media
just calling me a
machine
child
has
earlier?
done. For you are a child.
Is the
That's not an
hypocrisy
insult.
not
You're a child.
astounding?
How old are you?
Is the
12?
hypocrisy not
Anyway,
astounding? Do you
listen.
feel no shame when you
Listen.
say something like that? Is the
Listen,
hypocrisy
hush,
not absolutely
hush.
astounding, Dave?
Be quiet. Get a job, kid. Listen.
Politics aside, Harry to me is pretty much the perfect embodiment of what's wrong with people who get coddled growing up. They think they should be able to behave however they like, but oh no, when someone shoves it right back in their face, they can't stomach it.
Yeah, I mean, Harry, I want to talk to you specifically about TikTok. Your biggest following is on TikTok. So until the weekend, you must have been sweating away because your whole power base on that platform was about to disappear. And then the Lone Ranger arrives to save the day. Do you want to take this opportunity to thank President Trump for so far saving TikTok for you, therefore personally enriching you?
Yeah, so I've said previously that if Donald Trump or anybody, any politician, saves TikTok and prevents it from a ban, I'll give them credit that they deserve. But I also think it's important to point out. Yeah, I mean, I'm not absolved of that.
So, do you
I
want to
also
say
think it is
thank you,
important.
Donald, at this stage or not?
Oh no, I would never thank a sexual abuser for anything. I don't think.
Oh, right.
But I do
So
want to
when you
point
say
out
you give
that
him
Donald
credit, what do you
Trump.
mean?
I do want to point out that Donald Trump did sign an executive order when he was president the first time to ban TikTok. So the reason that this conversation started was because of Donald Trump in 2022 and 2023. People like Charlie Kirk, and I'm sure maybe these folks over here that I don't know for sure, were advocating for the banning of TikTok. And now when Donald Trump gets some money from people who have stake in it and he sees an opportunity to become more popular with Gen Z, then he flips his position.
It's not what happened.
Flip-flopper. So, and I also want to point out
Is
that
Harry
Joe Biden
tacitly admitting that TikTok is Chinese spyware? Are you admitting that it's owned by the Chinese government and that it's spying on Americans?
I don't know how you could have gotten that from me saying that Donald Trump wanted to ban TikTok, but of course you draw conclusions that aren't there. You'd fail the LSAT in a second, Dave Rubin. Joe
Piers, you gotta
Biden
stop
laid the
putting this
foundation
clown on, honestly.
Yeah, you know, Piers, it's
You're
remarkable
such
that you
an
let somebody who took
embarrassment.
Russian money on your
Dude,
show. Why would you let somebody who took Russian money on your show? It's
Tulsi and
disgraceful.
RFK are no
It's
longer
disgraceful. It's
Democrats.
disgraceful
You really
that people
are.
with Anyway, let me finish, Dave. Would you just be quiet, please? Appreciate it. Thank you for being obedient.
Unbearable.
Joe Biden laid the foundation for
Unrepairable.
TikTok to stay alive in the United States. That laid the
Is
foundation.
TikTok
but
Chinese
we are only here
spyware?
because. Do you have evidence to suggest that it is, Dave?
Yes, a hell of a lot of it.
Yes.
Oh, please.
Yes.
Lay it on.
Yeah.
Lay it on.
I
Lay
know
it
you
on.
make
Lay
money
it on.
from them, but hell yes.
lay
it is,
it
and
on
that's
us,
the reason
guys.
why they won't let you have it on
Lay it on
government
us,
phones.
guys. Lay it on
Dude,
us, guys. What's the evidence?
Okay,
What's
let's
the
go
evidence
through
that's
it.
been
No,
made
let's go
public by the
through it.
government?
I
Harry,
answer your
is
question.
Chinese
I'm gonna
TikTok
answer your
different than
question.
American TikTok? Yes or no?
Yeah, yes, it is. I'm still waiting for all this evidence that you guys says is so present. And by the way, if it is
Okay, I'll give it to you. I'll give it to you. Listen carefully.
Hold on,
Listen
gentlemen.
carefully.
Wait,
Listen
Ferguson.
carefully.
Let me finish this
Listen
really quickly.
carefully.
Ferguson, let me finish
Listen
this really
carefully.
quickly.
No, you
I'll let
asked
you
the
speak. I'll let you
question.
speak.
You asked
Ferguson,
the
let me
question.
finish.
I'm gonna
Let me
answer
finish,
the
and then I'll let you
question you
speak.
asked.
Ferguson, I'm done. I'll let me finish, and then I'll let you speak. If you guys are arguing that it's Chinese spyware, are you saying that Donald Trump is currently arguing for a spyware a mobile device?
No, because you again. This is where I'm going to teach you.
Oh no,
I'm going to teach you politics here, so you understand.
Of course,
Donald
it's Chinese
Trump, when he
spyware,
said,
but not when
look,
Donald
listen,
Trump advocates for it.
I
I
listened
love
to
the
your question.
hypocrisy
I'm
on
gonna
this
explain it to
channel.
you. I'm going to
I love
explain it to you.
It's delicious up here. I think
I'm
even
going to
Piers over there is like,
apologize
wow,
to
this is
the.
not
Don't
good for
talk
these
over
guys.
each other,
God,
please.
shut up! And I apologize to all the audience.
Emotional man. Wow.
Harry,
I'm
let
going
Ben
to
respond
first-
to you.
Okay, I'm going to apologize to all of the audience right now that doesn't need this explanation because you're smart enough to understand it. Now, Harry, for you, what Donald Trump
maybe
said when he
Donald
wanted
Trump
to ban
falls
it,
into that category?
what
I don't
Donald
know.
Trump said when
According
he
to
wanted
you.
to ban it is that it was clearly Chinese spyware. That's number one. Number two, what he did say was, I'm okay with TikTok as long it is divested from China. Now, let me explain what that means to you, because clearly you don't understand it.
We
They
know
don't
sale
want
of
the
TikTok.
Chinese government
I'm in this field.
to
Trust
be
me, I
able to
understand.
spy
But
on
has TikTok
everyone
divested
and
yet,
have
Ben?
all of their information and
Has
to put out
TikTok divested
propaganda
yet?
from the Chinese Communist Party.
Has TikTok
So
divested
here's your
yet, Ben?
recap for you. Donald Trump said that if we change who owns TikTok to an American company that's not being
Premise
controlled
two
by the
is
Chinese
false.
Communist Party,
Premise two is
also
false.
known as the CCP. Again, if you're never going to learn, buddy, if you don't listen, okay? Then you
Premise
just
two
look
is false.
stupid all the
Premise
time.
two is false. Your
Donald
premise two is
Trump
false. Your
said-
conclusion cannot be true.
But listen, and maybe you'll learn something. I know you're making
Okay,
all your
go
money
ahead.
from the Chinese Communist Party via TikTok. I get that.
And
I'd be
Dave is
defending
making
it
his
if I
money
was
from the Russians.
spineless
Right, we
like
understand.
you.
Right, of
Dude,
course.
shut the
Trump
up.
said.
Piers,
Hey,
kid,
look
this
at him.
kid
Look
is
at
an
him, Piers. I've gotten under
embarrassment.
his
This is
skin. I've gotten under
no,
his skin.
because you're just like a
Because
little rat
you're an
nothing.
idiot,
We're
man.
here.
Look at these-
We're
look-
here
look-
trying to
Piers,
actually
isn't it
discuss
remarkable-
important
Piers,
things.
isn't it
There's an
remarkable to see two
unbelievable
grown men
resurgence
freak
of
out right
America.
now?
By the way,
Dude,
you
he
wanna know why I
brings
wanna
you
ban
on
TikTok?
because the
Because these guys get a
commenters all think
platform.
you're a
They're
Okay,
Look at
that's
these,
what's
look at these
really
grown
going
men
on
freaking
here.
out right now. This guy's having a mental breakdown over there. Relax, David.
No,
It's
he's
okay.
not.
Nobody's
It's just
having a
because
mental
you don't
breakdown.
have a
You're just in
conversation on the
Anyway,
issue,
listen.
dude.
We've
That's
tried
great.
to have
By
an
the way,
honest
Dave was
conversation
complaining.
here for
I
a
just
Dave was
want
half
to
complaining
say the
hour.
point.
earlier
This is the
about
last one
personal
I'll make.
insults. Dave was
Hold on,
complaining
please say
earlier
this.
about
All right,
personal
you know what?
insults.
No one can now hear a word anyone's saying. I want to change the temperature a little bit.
Wait. Piers, can I just quickly rebuttal like 5 seconds? I promise.
No, you can't.
Yeah, I have the feeling that Harry knows exactly what the situation is. Now, I personally was against the ban of TikTok, provided that they find a US buyer. And Donald Trump signed an executive order granting a 75-day extension period for TikTok to divest itself from Chinese ownership. And so I would hope that when that's over, they would have that issue squared away. But anyways, yeah, Harry was completely bad faith the whole time. And while I'm personally not for calling others names the way that Dave Rubin did, I can understand the frustration and why he'd all of a sudden snap the way that he did. And then on top of that, you make Piers Morgan snap, and he's generally very patient. It's just interesting to see hardcore liberals like Harry, who even after losing the election can't take a look inside themselves and say, maybe the messaging that people like me have been perpetuating has hurt the party. And I'm afraid he never will, and at this rate, the political divide will never bridge. I mean, I personally wish we could go back to a place where civility between people who disagree politically was not so rare. But with people like Harry, I fear it'll stay that way. But guys, I want to thank you all for watching, and I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, as always, please give it a thumbs up, and if you're new to this channel, hopefully I've earned a subscription. Until next time, peace out.